ahead and call this Pompano Beach City Commission and the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency special joint meeting and special meeting of the CRA and special meeting of the Pompano Beach City Commission to order on Wednesday, October 29th at 6 p.m. If I could ask everyone who's here to please silence their cell phones or put them on vibrate so we don't get disrupted during the meeting, that would be ideal. Thank you for that. So silence those cell phones. Mr. Alfred, can we go ahead and call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Commissioner Physick.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins.
Here.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Vice Mayor Fournier.
Here.
Harton.
Here. If I could please ask everyone to rise for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, give us wisdom to consider these items on our agenda this evening, do the best we can for the residents of the city of Pompano Beach. For each of us, let's consider each item individually and do the best we possibly can as a group. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Harrison, any changes to our agenda? No, sir. Very good. Can I get a motion approving the agenda as printed?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and commence the special joint meeting of the City Commission of Pompano Beach and Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. Very good. I believe that takes us up to our presentation. I turn it over to Ms. Sybil.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Suzette Sybil, Assistant City Manager. So just to give a little bit of lay of the land of how things are going to flow this evening, we're going to begin at the joint meeting with a PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to recess this meeting. Then we're going to go into the CRE special meeting, at which time we're going to hear 3 separate agenda items for the CRE. We're going to adjourn that meeting, and then we're going to go into the City Commission meeting, and we're going to hear 6 agenda items related to the City Commission meeting. The purpose of the PowerPoint presentation is to go over all of those agenda items, and once we adjourn this meeting and go to each agenda item, I will then introduce the PowerPoint presentation into the record for each individual agenda item, and then obviously field questions from the Commission, and the public can then get to comment on each item. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started.
Very good.
So we've had quite a number of meetings regarding this downtown project, and here we are once again. And item number 1 on both the CRA special meeting and the City Commission special meeting this evening is asking both the CRA Board and the City Commission to consider approving a resolution which adds additional elements to the downtown project. And some of those additions results in us having to propose an amendment to the Master Development Agreement among the City, the CRA, and Roca Point partners, the Master Developer for the downtown. So when we talk about additional project elements, and I've talked about some of them before, over the last months, we've gone out into the community. We've heard about a lot of concerns of the residents of the community, a lot of things that are important to the community. Obviously, we've talked about all of the benefits of the downtown project and all of the benefits that happen in that geographic area that will be developed. A number of concerns that we've heard from residents, we've heard it from the District 4 Commissioner, we've heard it from other commissioners on the dais, is how can we ensure that this project benefits residents who live in the surrounding areas outside of the redevelopment area for the downtown projects. We've talked about some of the initiatives that we wanted to propose to try to help those residents, but in having conversations with the lawyers for the CRA and the City Commission, it became pretty evident to me earlier on that a lot of these initiatives, we can't legally spend tax dollars or tax increment dollars to implement. So what the District 4 Commissioner has been meeting with the developer over the last few months and the city, and we've been talking it through, and we were able to negotiate $6.5 million that would go into what we refer to as a community benefit trust. And what this allows us to do is to pass these funds through the developer to the community to allow a number of these programs to be executed that normally we couldn't do if the funds stayed under the city or CRA umbrella. So ultimately what we're focused on doing is getting these funds to the community as quickly as we can. Now, in order to effectively get this $6.5 million into this community benefit trust, we had to do two things. We're going to go into the master development agreement, and we had to amend what we refer to as a performance payment. And that's a payment that Roca Point Partners was entitled to get anyway under the master development agreement. And they're willing to forego $1.5 million of their performance payment to go into this community development trust fund. And ultimately, it will go into the fund to be used for the community. And I'll talk a little bit generally about the structure in a few minutes. What we're also doing is we're looking at land sales. And right now in the master development agreement, there is what we've been referring to as a waterfall split. So every time the CRA sells a pad within downtown, land sales come in. And right now the way it's structured is that the proceeds are split between the CRA and the master developer. What we're effectively doing is adjusting the split of those land sales to get us to the $6.5 million. At the end of the day, basically it's the developer contributing $3 million, and the city is adjusting the land sales split with the developer to give them $3.5 million more to get us to that total and to get that money into that trust fund. Now, the reason, as I mentioned earlier, why that's important is you'll see the programs I have listed on the screen. A number of things that we've talked about with the District 4 Commissioner. We've heard from residents in the community. You've heard me talk over and over about I want to get to the root of the socioeconomic problems that are experienced by our residents surrounding this project. And how can we do that? One of the things we have to target is how we can get their incomes up. So one of the things that this Community Benefit Trust could potentially fund are scholarships to help provide assistance to high school kids to go on to college, to help provide that financial aid to them, assistance to them. But also, maybe college isn't the right path for our high school students or young adults in the community because, you know, college is expensive. Not everybody can get scholarships. What about a trade? What about a certification in healthcare, in culinary, in AI, which is a popular field right now? So again, the funds from that trust can be utilized to fund those opportunities, to pay for those certification programs at vocational technical schools such as Atlantic Vocational, Broward College. They have a lot of those certification programs. So again, that's just another benefit of having this trust fund. Normally, the city and CRA, we can't fund those scholarships with taxpayer dollars. This trust fund will effectively allow the District 4 Commissioner to work with the community and fund those initiatives. As well as, you know, one of the things that always comes up is, can the city do more for the schools? And that's always like a battle, right? Because the school board has their own budget, they have their own board. This, again, those funds can be utilized to fund equipment and different aftercare programs or enrichment programs at the schools in the community. So I could go on and on again. You see job training opportunities, apprenticeship, youth sports leagues, small business assistance programs, and of course, community festivals and special events. Now, this arrangement has nothing to do with the city or the CRE, even though structurally within the Master Development Agreement, we're effectuating the transfer of funds to that trust fund. But ultimately, there has to be an agreement, we'll call it a Community Benefit Trust Agreement, that has to be executed between the developer and the community to effectively distribute these funds. Now, an example of an arrangement that exists today is the Cordish model. And Cordish, which is the development out on Powerline and Racetrack Road, they have a model where they actually fund, they've taken applications from nonprofits annually, and there's a board that's established to vet those applications, and ultimately those nonprofits are funded through the Cordish model. So we're somewhat mirroring that model. That's what Phil, the developer, would like to do through Roca Point Partner. So he's going to sit down with the District 4 Commissioner and the community, establish that board ultimately, and then they will develop the model of what they want to fund, what initiatives they want to fund, and what that looks like, and the processes and procedures for that. So ultimately, that will be worked out down the line between the developer and the community. So let's move on. So that's one element of an additional project element that we're adding into the Master Development Agreement. Another thing that we heard about was there's not enough affordable housing in the community. And obviously we debated back and forth for months, you know, can we add in more affordable housing within the downtown itself? What the developer committed to do is, even though they have the option to buy out of the 15% minimum workforce housing that's required in our code, they can buy out of that. They can buy out of it by making a payment into the city's affordable trust fund. They've committed in this proposed amendment that they will not buy out of that. They will commit to put putting in 15% of the units in the downtown as affordable housing. But more importantly, I said to legal, well, maybe we can get creative in how we address this affordability issue. So I sat down with Ms. McKenna. We looked at a program that the city of Tampa has, and I said, why can't we offer down payment assistance, right? Because the objective really is to make a home purchase affordable for the community. We also talked about rental assistance because we recognize that not everybody can afford to buy a home, right? It's not just about the mortgage, it's about the homeowner's insurance, and it's about the property taxes. So again, not everyone is able to get to that level where they can afford home ownership. So we're allowing for both parameters in the program. Another thing that sorry, I don't see it on the screen there, I think I left it off, was we're introducing the concept of tiny homes. That's something we would like to explore with the CRA board and the city commission in the future, to sit down and figure out if that's something we were interested in looking at, because I don't know if people know what a tiny home is, but it could be as much as like 800 square feet. It's a very small model. It has a living area, kitchen, 1 to 2 bedrooms, and usually you can construct them for $65,000 to $85,000. And if we can partner a program like that with down payment assistance, and if we can do that for a lot of our elderly in the community. It doesn't have to be elderly only, but I know that's something that's the District 4 Commissioner is passionate about and has brought up to us her concern, making sure that the elderly are not displaced out of their homes. So we want to sit down and work on those policies and programs to see how we can effectuate it. And of course, all of that would have to ultimately come back to the City Commission for approval. There is an agenda item on both the CRA board agenda and the City Commission agenda this evening as well, and it's requesting an amendment to the Northwest CRA plan. Because even though the plan talks about affordable housing, it doesn't specifically talk about down payment assistance, rental assistance, and it doesn't specifically address the concept of tiny homes. So again, you'll be asked to consider that amendment to the plan on both agendas following this presentation. I think I've covered everything there. And of course, as I stated, any programs governing tiny homes, down payment assistance, or rental assistance would have to come back to this board, the CRA board, to be considered for approval as far as the parameters of that program in the future. Another thing that we talked about was the need for strategic infrastructure improvements within the Northwest community. So one of the things that we talked about is coming up with a list of prioritized roadway and streetscape improvement projects. We also talked about the fact that areas in the Northwest need to be lit up, and our Northwest attorney called it lighting up the Northwest. So that's something we would like to talk more to the District 4 Commissioner about. We've talked a little bit of some of the roadways in the Northwest that she would target for improvement. We would like to consider those discussions. And what we're proposing is that from downtown proceeds that we program at least $1 million annually into the budget for those initiatives. We fully understand that $1 million won't get us a project probably. We're just saying at least we're committed to putting more money into that fund, prioritizing the list, and on an annual basis as part of the Northwest CRA's finance plan adoption, working through those initiatives and prioritizing them within the plan. So there are other project elements that we've added as well. We've talked about this in previous presentations. We know that it was very important to preserve culture and heritage of the Northwest community within the downtown project. One of the things that was very important to the community and the District 4 Commissioner was that we didn't cluster these things in one place within the downtown project. So what we've committed to in the proposed master development amendment this evening before you is that we agree to these initiatives in collaboration with the developer. We will continue to work with the CRA, the city, and a community group to determine what these elements look like, what kind of pioneers are honored within these elements, et cetera, et cetera. So we are committing to working closely again with the community to make those initiatives a reality and not clustering them. We're committed to spreading them throughout the master project for the downtown. We also talked about small business incubator program and incentives program. That's something we would like to implement. Again, the program parameters would have to come back ultimately to the CRA board to be considered for approval. So we welcome your input on what that might look like. One of the things that we were looking at is within the downtown project, in these mixed-use developments where you have residential on top and you have retail on the bottom, if the CRA could lease these spaces at market rate, break that larger space into smaller units, and then they're able to then rent those units to people who have an interest in operating a small business within those spaces. So in essence, they're subsidizing the rent on behalf of those tenants. We would also like to propose that the CRA bring forward an incentive program to provide things like tenant build-out. So if we're able to push somebody through the incubator program to get them ready to participate in the project, providing that additional funding to help them build out the interior of that space to get them up and running. Let's see. Part of the elements being proposed as well are community liaisons and consultants. So there is wording in there to work with the District 4 Commissioner to select 2 members from the community, the Northwest community, to serve as liaisons, not just with the downtown project, perhaps with the Community Benefits Trust that I discussed earlier, but just making sure that going forward that they have a place at the table, that they're working collaboratively with the District Commissioner and the city as CRE and the developer as the project progresses over time. There was also discussion of a satellite college opportunity. So having an education component in the downtown is something we're interested in. What we're proposing is setting aside some land within downtown for a period of 2 years, and for city and CRE staff to work with the community and these community liaisons to try to attract and entice a college satellite building to come in the downtown project. So we would set aside that land for 2 years and then work collectively towards that process of trying to entice them to come. They would have to construct their own building, pay for the cost, and they also would have to pay the cost of operating the building themselves. So again, it's just providing the land that we would throw into the deal to entice them to come and build in the downtown. Let's see, and that is part of the proposed master development amendment before you this evening as well, because the developer has agreed to put that pad aside for 2 years. Another thing we talked about is an education resource center. And again, this is if we were to construct a new Larkin Center, we would be willing to put space in that center to operate a college resource program where kids, high school students can come in and learn more about the financial aid application process, scholarships, but we also want to provide resources to educate them on opportunities in VOTEC. Right? What are the programs available? How can we work together to try to provide funding for that? And perhaps that Education Resource Center can work collaboratively with the Community Benefit Trust to provide the scholarships to get those kids into those VOTEC programs if that's the path they elect to take. Let's see. Local business enterprise participation funding. We are putting $2 million in the public financing to allow us to have outreach programs and workshops, partner with construction companies for an apprenticeship program to help to have paid positions for people in the community who want the opportunity to work with these construction companies. And this is to construct the civic projects and the infrastructure project in the downtown that the city and CRE are obligated to construct. We would still continue to work with the developer on the private pads to encourage and make all efforts to ensure local participation. We have a lot of businesses that have completed forms already that are downtown meetings, and we want to continue to have those outreach activities and work collaboratively to ensure inclusion in the project by our local contractors. So again, that's a proposed master development amendment before you this evening as well to add in that language. So now we're going to get into the financing. I've presented on this several times. There are 2 obligations for the CRE and the city, both as it relates to the master development agreement. One is we are obligated to issue a CRE infrastructure bond, and that's to address the stormwater, utilities, roadways, traffic signals. I like to call it all the horizontal stuff in downtown. So the infrastructure adds value to the downtown. It ultimately, because it's water, and developers love to build next to water because it increases the value of their project as well. So it definitely increases the value of the pads that we have to sell to them. So again, it increases the property values. It's making the pads more appealing to the developers because they don't have to come in and worry about putting in the infrastructure themselves. We're doing it for them. It also expedites the timeline for the downtown project, because if every individual developer comes in and has to figure out their own infrastructure individually, that again adds time to the project, and time is money, both for us and both for the developers. So we want to get the infrastructure in and make that public investment to entice them to come in, which ultimately benefits us in the increasing the value of the pads as we sell them. And of course, it's also an innovative feature. It's an amenity. It's something nice that our residents can peruse and walk up along the promenade and go into the shops and restaurants. So again, it's a great feature for the project. So in terms of the CRA bond, we're proposing issuing a bond not to exceed $75 million. About $64 million of that is for the actual project costs related to the infrastructure that I spoke about just a few minutes ago. But there's also $10 million in there for a debt service reserve fund that's proposed. Also, the anticipated financing terms, it's about 5% interest rate is what we're anticipating. We would be financing that through 2049. The maximum annual debt service payment is $6.7 million, and ultimately, let's see, and it's secured with the existing tax increment in the Northwest Trust Fund today as it exists today. So we're not looking to the additional revenues that downtown would generate to secure this bond. We feel that we have enough in the Northwest Trust Fund today to help us to repay the debt service related to that bond over time. The last bullet I want to talk about is important. In the last legislative session, there was a lot of talk about impacting the bonding capacities of CRAs. Our CRA attorney feels very strongly that the fact that we've had the debt service for our infrastructure bond programmed into our Northwest Finance Plan for the last 2 years, the fact that we have an executed master development agreement, that we're fully authorized to issue those bonds regardless of what happens in Tallahassee in the next legislative session. However, in an abundance of caution, what I have asked our bond counsel to do is in the public financing documents that are on the city agenda this evening as agenda item number 2, we have added language that if the CRA is unable to legally issue bonds at any time in the future, that you all would allow us to issue those dollars under the umbrella of the city's public financing. So again, it's just another way to insulate the project on our side. But again, we fully feel that we'll be able to do it legally per what Ms. McKenna has told us and the research that she has done to vet that issue. But again, I just want to be safe and conservative, so we have elected to do that, and we can talk more about that when I present the item. Financing for the civic buildings. The civic buildings, of course, are City Hall, a new parking garage, and if the City Commission elects to do so, a new EPAT Larkin Center. So last June, as part of the approval of the Master Development Agreement, private financing was approved. And the city at that time, I insisted on putting the option in the agreement for public financing. So we did have the option going into it that if the city so elected to do so, we could go down the road of public financing. If the City Commission does not approve public financing, we will be moving forward with the developer to pursue private financing. So you've seen this chart before. Basically, private financing options is on the left and public financing is on the right. You can see the terms are a lot different. It is more expensive to do private financing. And public financing just means that rather than the developer taking on the debt themselves and then we making a lease payment to them, the city wants to go ahead and issue that debt themselves. And ultimately, it's our obligation, and we're making those payments to the bond issuers who sell the bonds to us. So you can see a stark difference in the amount we would pay over the 30-year financing term under private versus public financing. Again, and we're anticipating plus or minus $100 million in savings over that financing term. I did want to point out that we are leaving money in the public financing for either renovating the Larkin Center or building new, because we heard loud and clear from the district commissioner and the community. And if there's a decision in the next few months to build new, we would have to come back to the commission for you all to vote and make that decision to build a new Larkin Center. So as of now, the funding is there to allow you to renovate or to allow you to build new. Okay, so I added this slide. You know, I've talked about a number of these things over the last few months, and I call this CR and civic obligations insulating the project. And I've heard a lot of concerns of people sitting on the dais. I've heard concerns in the community making sure that we're not going to be raising taxes of our existing residents to pay for this project. And we feel very confident that the revenues generated from downtown will pay for the obligations of the city and CRE. So some of the things we've done to further insulate the project is the debt service payments. So once we issue the debt, we're going to wait 2 years. We're not going to make any payments on that obligations for 2 years, right? So it allows us to kind of get in there and start pushing out those land sales and getting that activity moving in downtown. We also plan on establishing debt reserve funds, both on the CRA side and the city side. And the reason that's important, not just for downtown, but when you issue any debt generally, is that, you know, we know that the markets ebb and flow, right? We know that recessions happen, which typically last about 18 to 24 months. So we like to have this extra cushion that if that happens and we have that slump in the economy over the next 10 to 15 years, that we can at least cover our debt service for at least 2 years to allow the economy to bounce back. So we think that it was prudent to do, and the right thing to do, and the responsible fiscal thing to do. So the other thing to point out is the debt service, the annual cost, it's a fixed interest rate, it's not variable. So once we issue the debt, those annual payments are on a payment schedule, and they're fixed payments that we're making over that 30-year time frame. Also, the valuations in the project. We were conservatively looking at 3 to 4% growth in property values is how we had it in our models, both on the city and CRE side. And historically, over the last 10 years, we've seen about 8% increase in property values on the city side and about 11% increase for the Northwest CRE district. So we feel like that's an extra layer of security for us to insulate the project. Let's see. The uses in the project right now are projected to be about 95% non-homesteaded. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion right now in Tallahassee about property tax reform. We've been keeping an eye on that since last year. So I did want to point that out to the commission that 95% of the uses in the project are currently projected to be non-homestead. Let's see. The other thing that I haven't really talked about a lot, I talked about it at our October 20th workshop, is that the intention to, because we're going to have common area maintenance expenses within the downtown, we're going to be also programming a lot of activities and events in the green space. So we're looking at having the businesses contribute to that effort, because obviously they will benefit from having all of that activation and all of that greenery and everything looking great, the landscaping and all of that. So it's just another way to add another layer of contribution from the private sector to offset any costs that the city might incur. Let's see. I already talked about revenue, downtown revenues covering all of our obligations. And of course, private financing has a cushion. It's $100+ million, $140 million. If we go public financing, that cushion jumps to $200+ million. So obviously I'm advocating for that to further insulate the project. Okay, I'm now going to turn things over to Mr. Patrick Leonard with Broker Point Partners to finish the presentation.
Thank you. Patrick Leonard, Broker Point Partners. As everybody knows, we've been working on the City Hall design. We procured HOK architects back in February when we went through that process. And since then, they've had about 41 either public meetings, commission meetings, staff meetings, et cetera, and another 50+ with us internally. So they've done a very nice job of, finding out everything about the city and what they need to do for this concept plan. So as everybody here has seen, our base concept, the elevation, again, they're trying to do something architecturally significant on the corner of Dixie and Atlantic. And as everybody can see, as everybody's seen this image before, we really want it to kind of stand out to be sort of the catalyst for the project on the first step. As they've gone through, and again, people have seen this before on the concept plan, we've created the site plan, the landscape plan, the stacking and blocking. They spent a lot of time with staff on this to make it work. The programming is all pretty much set. We've now gone through all the floor plans, so the floor plans are in very good shape, as everybody's seen as we went through this on previous workshops and one-on-ones. So we have all 4 floors programmed for the 116,000 feet, which was the program, and there is expansion space to last, for the next 20 years. And as everybody has seen, part of this is the interiors. They've come up with a lobby that everybody seems to like. Concept, as you come into the building, We have interior concepts, and again, this will all be picked out later. We'll pick out carpet and samples and things like this, but the interior concepts for common break rooms, which will be much nicer than what they currently have, more meeting spaces, conference spaces, et cetera. Those are sort of the look and feels that we're going for. And again, this is, as you come out of the parking deck, looking at a two-story entry, it'll be a much grander entrance into City Hall. The council chambers will be off to the right. They will be connected. The lobby will be there. There'll be a one-stop shop on the left side, which is one of the things that everybody has asked for. We've talked about, potential of adding a roof terrace that came up during some of the meetings. We will note that the actual chamber itself design is going to vary, and we'll talk about that in a second. And we do have some feedback that people would like more shade and better shade and some other things up there, which can be incorporated. And again, right now, this is the concept plan. As we take it into full-blown design, we'll take all those notes that we took from the meetings and incorporate those. There's a design narrative, which is part of the MDA, that basically outlines the 116,000 square foot 4-story building plus a 600 space parking deck. And then, as we have talked about on several meetings, we're down to sort of the last item on it, which was what the council chamber would look like, or the commission chamber would look like. And there was one concept that was a scallop design, and then there was one that was a perforated design. The perforated one had some merit to it, and I think people were leaning more towards the scalloped one in our last conversation. So those still are open, and I think that's one of the items tonight to put a pin in that and figure out which way everybody wants to go on it. So again, that's part of the presentation. And that effectively will be the last part of, again, what we would call the concept plan. We still have to get into designing all the mechanical, electrical, structural, and fully bake the project, take it out for pricing and still get through permits and all that, but this will be the concept. And the way it works is, everything that we design in the future will be look and feel like what we're showing you tonight. The last item, unrelated to the concept plan, there are some technical matters on the agenda tonight. There's a handful of right-of-way abandonments, and the CRA over time has assembled these parcels, and they've done a very nice job of assembling parcels, but they're not all contiguous. But as they've assembled the parcels, as they own both sides of old roads and old right-of-ways, we now need to transfer the roads and right-of-ways into the CRA's property so that they'll own the whole property. So this shown here are a couple of right-of-ways right to the north of Atlantic Boulevard. This one is just north of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. That's next to the Gateway Project. And this one specifically is, as we're working with the power company to potentially bury the overhead power lines. This is something that they're looking to do because they need to be able to work in an easement. There'll still be access and utility easements, but it'll be controlled by the CRA. And the last one is across from City Hall. There's an old residual right-of-way shown there in the red. It's basically just an old residual property. So these three specifically are intended to just make the properties contiguous where the city and the CRA already control the properties. And so that is one of the technical matters on tonight. Okay. And then lastly, I think they included just the start of it. We're excited about this project. We think the new City Hall, we appreciate everybody's feedback. We think we're going to end up in a really good spot there. We think HOK is doing a really nice job. I think they're good to work with. They do listen. And I think they're creating something that I think people of Pompano will be proud of. And it would really be a nice, really lighten up that corner and then again be the start of more stuff to come in the future downtown. Is there anything else?
That completes the presentation, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you for that. All right, then I guess we will go ahead and recess this meeting, and now we will commence the special meeting as Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. Under considerations, item 1 is a resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I read the caption, I just want to point out for the record that satellite in the caption is misspelled, and when the final resolution is signed, that word will be corrected. So, a resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment
me, Mayor.
Agency.
Before she gets started, excuse me, I wanted to, bring to your attention that we've had the services of RMA in the city of Pompano for about 16 years. They've been here since 2009. And being that this is a new project, I think it's time for us to move in a different direction as far as RMA is concerned. So I would like to make a motion that we remove and replace RMA as the consultant for all Northwest CRA projects, which include the new downtown.
I'm sorry, Ms. McKenna, is it?
Is that a motion to terminate the contract, or is it a motion to change the scope?
Terminate the contract.
The contract expires in August of '27. If you terminate, you have to give RMA 60 days notice,
Right.
and then after the 60 days notice, they receive a transition fee for 180 days. That is their monthly fee. So the effect of terminating today would be to basically pay them their monthly fee for 8 months.
Thank you. So do I need to reiterate the motion, or?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Okay, do I need to reiterate the motion, repeat it?
No.
No? Okay.
I got it.
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to terminate the contract with RMA for the Northwest CRA. Would that be accurate?
Yes, it is.
Okay, moved and seconded. Okay, discussion on the motion. Anybody? Okay, no discussion. Is this a matter that we should take public input on or not?
I think the way the statute reads, if you are going to make any decision, then the public is allowed to comment on it.
Okay, then let's open it up to public input. Does anyone wish to comment on this motion? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest Fifth Avenue. You said we have to pay them 8 months?
The contract is a 3-year term, and there is a 60-day notice provision and then a transition fee.
Okay.
And the 180 days is 6 months, so it's 8 months.
How much would that be?
It's $33,217 a month, I believe. So it would be about 250,000 and change,
33,000.
254,000.
How many employees do they have?
I don't know.
We don't know?
I do not. I don't know how many employees RMA
What's your
has.
estimate?
She doesn't know.
I don't
Mr.
know.
Skaversky,
You know.
She can't answer.
You know.
Sir, for the record, I want to be very clear. I do not know how many employees RMA has.
They're a waste.
Further input from the public? Just name and address for the record.
Hi. My name is Nehemiah O'Neill, and I live at 2621 Northeast 7th Terrace, Pompano Beach, Florida. Okay, and I have a problem with y'all giving all that money to Pat E. Larkins, and they're doing reverse discrimination.
Oh.
They're using colorism on me. Ever since I was a little boy, they've been running me from the parks. I had to run home because of my color. And I'm tired of them doing me like that, and I'm tired of it.
Okay.
They need to take me back in. They got me out on a slander. Now I can't eat the meals. I joined the school, and I went across the bridge and went to school. Now I'm in the college over there. Now all I needed was 2 meals, okay, that I've been swindled out of twice a week, okay? And Mayor,
Yes.
I shouldn't be having to say this. You know, I shouldn't be having to come to this conclusion right here. Don't do nothing for Pat Larkin, them, man. They discriminating on me. Don't do nothing for them.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Further input from the public on the motion. Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Dodie Keith. I'm here as a resident right now. I live at 1300 South Ocean Boulevard, Unit 501, Pompano Beach. You all know I'm upset. That's okay. I'm upset. Maybe I'm hearing the attorney say the motion could be to amend a scope versus a termination, which doesn't cost you all that money. And maybe if your concern is about involvement in specific things, RMA works across the city, does a lot of good things across the city for the city of Pompano Beach and has for many years. Might be an opportunity instead to amend a scope that would not have all this termination, whatever we're talking about right now, and allow this project to move forward tonight and give respect to a group that's done a lot of hard work and good stuff for our city, but allows us to move forward in a community that needs to move forward. So I would ask you maybe to consider that motion, and as a whole body, consider that maybe a potential change in scope for a consultant may be the best interest for Pompano Beach and allow us to move forward. Respectfully.
Very good. Further input from the public on the motion. Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Colleen Duncan. I live in District 4. I don't know what the hell you mean by don't do nothing for Pat Larkins. Pat Larkins is one of our history. So I don't know what he talking about.
Okay, Ms. Duncan, address the motion,
talking to
if you would, please.
I ain't studying him.
Yeah, please address the motion.
Exactly.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Talking about don't do nothing for Pat Larkins. He don't know what the hell he talking about.
Very good. Further input from the public on the motion. Seeing none, public input closed. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That's enough. Further commission discussion. I've got Vice Mayor, then I've got Commissioner Smith.
I guess it's less of a discussion element and more of a question in response to what we just heard. If we were to change the scope of their contract to eliminate their participation or in the downtown project, would we be able to reduce the scope and reduce what we're paying them without spending 8 months on nothing?
Well, I think it would be a matter of negotiation. I mean, obviously, we have a written signed contract, so we would have to, Mr. Harrison or Ms. Sybil would need to sit with RMA and determine what would be an appropriate scope. If you look at the scope now, it's focused on P3s and other needs in the Northwest. And so there, the Northwest is a large area. Presumably, there might be a scope that could be determined that would allow the removal of RMA from the downtown project. I don't know what the objective is, but in any event, yes, you can certainly negotiate. Now, a negotiation means both parties have to, come to an understanding, but you can certainly do that.
Thank you. I mean, from my perspective, Mr. Harrison negotiating with RMA is like the same person negotiating with himself, so there's really no point in a negotiation there. I guess, yeah, there's a cost to progress, so thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Smith.
I just feel that this is personal, and that has always bothered me, that we're making personal opinions of one of our contractors, and I think RMA has done a lot of good for the city of Pompano Beach over the years, and we would not be where we are today if it wasn't for their insight for our city. And I'm just disappointed that we're using something personal to make a decision about going forward with our city. I almost feel like it's being held over my head that we won't have the support of you, Commissioner Perkins, if if we don't get rid of RMA. And I think putting personal feelings in front of what's best for the city, I'm not comfortable with that, and I'm not going to support the motion that's on the table.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Vice Mayor, then Commissioner Fessick.
Thank you. I want to respond to what Commissioner Smith said. So maybe in the east, it's different than in the northwest. I actually think that perhaps without RMA, the northwest CRA might be further, and the northwest might be further along with more participation and more of the CRA money trickling into the community where there's been need. So I respectfully disagree that in the northwest CRA, perhaps it could have been further along with a different consultant that understood the community more and really was striving to listen to the residents and spread the money throughout the district more, instead of in the 2 acres east of Dixie Highway. So I just think there's, I respectfully disagree with that in the Northwest CRA. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Fessick.
Thank you. So I think it's no secret that I have a lot of concerns relating the interactions with RMA and our city and our CRA, both of them. But having said that, I would like to really flesh out this concept and like to have the conversation, because I haven't had the conversation, right? I'd like to find out what is it, I would like to know what exactly their scope is in this project, which it seems like it's all over it, but that being said, I'd rather, in the spirit of trying to work together, like Dodie had said, just at least try to give them the opportunity to maybe put this on the agenda as an agenda item, or so that we're not blindsiding one person or the other, so it doesn't feel personal, like Commissioner Smith said, because it's not. I have valid concerns, and I'm sure other commissioners do too. Vice Mayor, I know I've heard you about a lot of different things, and so as much as I would like that, as much as I would like to just blindly support this, I feel like I also want to have the opportunity to say some of the things that need to be said or ask some of the questions that need to be asked. And I would have to agree that amending the contract will probably not work, because we have too many people that are all talking in the same circles. I'm saying that based on just email threads that sort of say that to me in their own words. So, yeah, I like to at least give people the opportunity to try to defend themselves. So, but, so I don't care for RMA, but I know that no matter what, it's going to fail. So, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Ms.
Yes.
McKinney, you've got something to say?
I just wanted to add for the record, certainly a negotiation would not have to necessarily take place with Mr. Harrison. Hire outside counsel to negotiate. I mean, if you were to consider a scope, you can certainly, you have other ways to find out how to negotiate it.
Very good. Thank you. Further commission discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Perkins?
Yes, Commissioner Smith, I don't know where you're getting the personal aspect of this, but I was here in 2009, of course, when they came the consultants. So this is not personal at all for me. This is business and professional for me. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll on a motion.
Commissioner Fezzik?
Could you read the motion again? Was it to terminate the contract?
The motion is to terminate RMA as consultant for all Northwest CRA projects, which includes the new downtown.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton?
No.
Commissioner Smith?
No.
Vice Mayor Fournier?
Yes.
Mayor Harden?
No. Motion fails. We're back to item 1, resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency acknowledging additional elements of the downtown project relating to history, culture, and art, including features such as a Sports Hall Wall of Fame feature, Pioneer Monument, Legacy feature, and Historical Business Walkway, relating to community liaisons, consultants, and relating to Satellite College Opportunity, relating to an education resource center, acknowledging residential workforce housing requirements, approving programs relating to affordable housing, including down payment and rental assistance programs and potential tiny home program, strategic infrastructure, including streetscapes and street lighting, and local business enterprises participation, acknowledging community benefits trust funding by developer of $6,500,000 payable over 10 years, approving and authorizing the proper officials to execute a First Amendment to the Pompano Beach Downtown Public-Private Redevelopment Agreement between the City of Pompano Beach, the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, and RP Pompano LLC, that incorporates the obligations relating to the additional project elements, local business enterprises participation, and funding the Community Benefits Trust, together with all documents necessary to effectuate the First Amendment. All such approvals contingent on approval by the City Commission of the design concept for City Hall and parking garage, authorization for the issuance of the master infrastructure bond, and approval of the issuance of public financing of the civic buildings, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
So moved.
Moved and seconded for discussion. Once again, Ms. Sybil.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the CRA Board, Suzette Sybil, Assistant City Manager. Mayor, I'd like to introduce the previous PowerPoint presentation into the record for this agenda item. I have no additional comments. Happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest Fifth Avenue. What is the cost currently now for affordable housing?
Don't know. I'm not sure what it is, but it's based upon county and.
Okay, what is the number now?
incomes.
I'm sorry, what was the question? I didn't hear you.
What is the current rate for affordable housing? You were talking about that.
So it's usually based on, there's an income limit chart. Usually we focus on HUD. So it depends on the number of people in the household. I'd be happy to get you a copy of the chart, but it depends on if it's one person in the household, 2, 3, 4, et cetera, in terms of the income limits that they look
Is it
at.
generally over 300,000 right now?
Income, I don't believe that's on the chart, up to 4 people. But again, I don't have the chart memorized. I could get you a copy.
All right, I just want to state that the last person that spoke, I loved what he said. He goes, there's more stuff to come. So they're just starting in your area. And they won't finish until they want to finish.
Very good. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Anybody? Commissioner Fessick?
I wanted to just ask this because it was asked of me. This is more of an attorney question, so we use Robert's rules, we adopt Robert's rules as a commission. And so while I appreciate all of the changes that have been made, the re-advancing the same substantially, same public versus private financing again, after it failed in June, should be justified as completely materially different business. And so I was just wondering what has changed in terms of scope or even terms, cost risk, what does that look like specifically compared to the last time we saw something similar, because it's got a lot of the same pieces in it.
Ms. McKenna?
Well, without going into great detail, I think the community benefits amount was $500,000 last time, and now it's $6,500,000. There are different additional project elements that there were, and the funding is being used differently. So I would say everything in front of you has some measure of difference to it. And I don't think Roberts prevents a commission from ever reconsidering something that they've decided on. You know, there are rules relating to motion for reconsideration. That's not what this is. This is a brand new set of resolutions for you to consider. And I know of no prohibition against bringing it forward.
Okay, I would be interested to, I understand that some things have changed, but it just looks very much the same to me. And I have a few concerns over are we only getting this additional, opportunity if we choose public financing?
That is correct.
Okay, so all of these lovely things that we have said we would like anyway, as part of the project, is only going to be added if we vote to use public financing specifically.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik,
No.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier,
No.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item 2 is a resolution.
Sorry about that. A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency expressing its approval of an affordable housing amendment to the Northwest CRA Plan and requesting that the City Commission approve the amendment, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded for consideration. Once again, Ms. Sybil.
Thank you, Mayor. As discussed earlier, this is a proposed amendment to the Northwest CRE plan, and it allows us to add in the allowability for affordable housing parameters such as down payment assistance for housing, rental assistance, and looking at the feasibility of a tiny home project that we could introduce into the Northwest community. Again, the whole objective here is to make homeownership or rental affordable for the community. Again, all programs or parameters related to those objectives would have to be brought back to the CRA board at a future date for consideration. Again, I'm also introducing the PowerPoint presentation as part of the record for this agenda item as well. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik,
No.
I didn't quite hear.
Sorry, what
I
was it?
said no.
No? Okay. Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier,
No.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Item number 3 is a supplemental resolution.
A supplemental resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency supplementing Master Bond Resolution number 2022-20 adopted by the Community Redevelopment Agency on June 28, 2022 to authorize the issuance of its not exceeding 75 million tax increment revenue bonds in one or more series of tax-exempt and/or taxable bonds and as additional bonds pursuant to the Master Bond Resolution for the purpose of financing, including through reimbursement, together with other legally available funds, all or a portion of the cost of a redevelopment project relating to the Northwest District area, including certain other costs related to such additional bonds, all as more fully provided for herein. Authorizing the execution and delivery of such additional bonds, authorizing the negotiated sale of such additional bonds, and establishing certain parameters of such sale, delegating authority to the executive director of the Community Redevelopment Agency in consultation with the agency's municipal advisor to select one or more underwriters for each series of such additional bonds, approving the form and authorizing execution of a bond purchase contract for each series of such additional bonds, subject to the parameters set forth herein, approving a form of preliminary official statement and related matters for each series of additional bonds, and authorizing execution and delivery of a final official statement for each series of additional bonds, approving the form, and authorizing execution of a continuing disclosure certificate and related matters for each series of additional bonds, providing for the appointment of the initial paying agent and registrar for each series of such additional bonds, and the execution of a related paying agent and registrar agreement, providing for a municipal bond insurance option for each series of additional bonds, authorizing other required actions, authorizing the proper officials of the agency to do all other things deemed necessary or advisable in connection with the matters provided for herein, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, Ms. Sybil.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, Suzette Sybil, Assistant City Manager. I would like to again introduce the PowerPoint into the record for this agenda item. As you see on the screen, this is requesting authorization to issue not to exceed $75 million in bonds for the downtown project. This will allow the CRA to meet its obligation under the Master Development Agreement, which was approved on June 20th, 2024. That completes my comments, subject to questions. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
Michael Skaversky again, 1630 Southwest Fifth Avenue. This is $75 million. I don't understand why this isn't put up for a vote by the citizens of Pompano Beach. I mean, we're just adding more and more and more. We have a $181 million bond. I think you're going to want to put money out for that flower garden or botanical mess you want to do east of Federal. And now we got this. I mean, we're just being saddled nonstop with debt. This is just, it's out of hand. Do you ever know that Bernie Sanders would absolutely go crazy? The rest of his hair would fall off his head. I mean, you just spend. There's nothing to it. You can't stop. You know why? Because you don't care. It's amazing. Enough's enough. This really should be going to the people instead of you just voting on this. Let the people decide if they want to spend $75 million for this. I mean, this is just getting out of hand. I mean, this Northwest area, where were all you last night at about 11 or 12 o'clock at night? You all went home. Guess what I did? I was in that area last night. I first went out, gave food. There were so many people living on the streets. I went home, got my cooler, and filled it up with food and handed it out again. Why don't we think about what's going on in the streets first before we care about building all this stuff over there? You don't care, and it's only going to get worse. It's amazing. And you just look at me, because you don't care about who lives on the streets. All you care about is feeding your face. I care about others. Unfortunately, very few people do. All they care about is themselves.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, please refrain from the applause. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Thank you. Commission discussion, questions, concern? Commissioner Fessick.
I had again a question, and again, I thank you for trying to meet us halfway on a lot of items. I feel like this was still rushed between a meeting that was announced with just a blank one-line discussion about downtown on the 21st, where had I known it was going to be a workshop that was to discuss some of the concerns we had openly, would have been a little bit more prepared, because it also just said presentation, and so I assumed we were sitting through another presentation initially. Because of that, there are still a few things I'd really like to discuss, and it was a very good meeting, as I think anybody who in attendance could agree to. I mean, we had a lot of great conversation and input. What I'm seeing, though, on page 8 of your, it's just the previous page, but on page 8 is that, again, you mentioned earlier that this water feature is going to be part of, and again, we heard this water feature. Well, from the beginning, we've looked at this and said, okay, well, does this need to be there? Should we look at a different concept of maybe not having water? And that's a lot of square footage. That's a lot of water on the northwest side. When you get that far west, that's a lot of water to maintain, because it's not going to be natural. And then there's mosquito control, then there's chlorination because it's going to have concrete on the bottom. I had lots of conversations. That's a huge loss. And yes, you can still have water in plazas and things like that, and utilize that area or the square footage and really make it a better option. I've asked, and I know that I asked back in June, and I know I've seen some preliminary numbers or rough costs, but I thought we were also going to get updates about what the new costs were, or if we had solidified some of those costs to actually understand what those costs would look like. So before just approving all of this, I think we still have work to do in terms of communication. I understand that we want to move things forward, but the communication is still lacking. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion. Vice Mayor?
I just want to point out that between this bond and the financing for the civic buildings that we are being asked to approve again tonight, at least the public version of it, we will be obligating the city and CRA to $400 million of debt service over the next 25 years between those two. And if the public debt doesn't pass and it is the private debt, we are obligating the city and the CRA to $500 million, $500 million of debt service over the next 25 years for what I consider a risky development project that is outside of the scope of what a city should be doing. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion. Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik?
No.
Commissioner Perkins?
No.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier?
No.
Mayor Harden.
Yes. Very good. We'll adjourn this meeting and commence special meeting as City Commission of Pompano Beach. Under considerations, item 1 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, establishing additional elements of the downtown project, additional project elements related to history, culture, and art, including features such as the Sports Hall Wall of Fame feature, Pioneer Monuments, Legacy feature, and Historical Business Walkway relating to community liaisons, consultants, and relating to Satellite College Opportunity, relating to an education resource center, acknowledging residential workforce housing requirements, approving programs related to affordable housing, including down payment and rental assistance programs, and potential tiny home program, strategic infrastructure, including streetscapes and street lighting, and local business enterprises participation, acknowledging community benefits trust funding by developer of $6,500,000 payable over 10 years, approving an increase to the civic building financing to fund costs associated with the additional project elements, approving and authorizing the proper officials to execute a First Amendment to the Pompano Beach Downtown Public-Private Development Redevelopment Agreement, the Master Development Agreement between the City of Pompano Beach, the city, and the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA, and RP Pompano, LLC, First Amendment that incorporates the obligations relating to the additional project elements, local business enterprise participation and funding, the Community Benefits Trust, together with all documents necessary to effectuate the First Amendment. All such approvals contingent upon approval by the City Commission of the design concept for City Hall and parking garage, authorization for the issuance of the master infrastructure bond, and approval of the issuance of public financing of the civic buildings, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded for discussion. Once again, Ms. Sybil.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner, Suzette Sybil, Assistant City Manager. I'd just like to say I'd like to introduce the PowerPoint presentation for all 6 agenda items you'll be hearing on the City Commission agenda this evening. I have no additional comments. This item mirrors the item that was considered at the CRA board meeting as agenda item number 1. Thank you.
Good, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record.
I'm starting to get tired. Do I have to say my name again?
Yes, sir.
I'm not. I follow the rules, though. Michael Skaversky, 1630 Southwest 5th Avenue.
Thank you.
The only comment I have to say, since Mark just read that, is the amount of money we're going to be spending, or you want to spend, in the Northwest area is probably equal to Otani's contract. And I know you're a big baseball fan, but Otani puts people in the stands, sells a lot of baseball shirts, makes a lot of money for baseball and the Dodgers. This will not.
Very good. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Questions, concern? Commissioner Fessick.
I was kind of hoping that we'd have some more folks that wanted to put in their thoughts, because we had so many over the past several months and several meetings that we've had. And then even up to last night, we had people voicing their opinion. But I do want to point out a couple of things that, and again, the attempt to work together. So one of the things I have that I have an issue with here is not the fact that we are getting into the VOTEC business, but that we seem to be saying that we're going to shoulder some of that. And I recently found and posted online that Home Depot, and likely a lot more corporations after them, are, so for example, Home Depot right now is offering free trade certifications, and all you have to do is sign up. And they're also trying to help you find job placement. So there's lots of opportunities that major corporations that are within our community and beyond are already doing. And so to add that portion, while I think it's a noble idea and we should have money set aside for something that would perhaps assist or contribute to a VOTEC program, I think maybe shouldering it ourselves as a city might be a little bit more than we need to bite off. However, I also have questions about how, why, and who we choose people to represent the city or the CRA, one and the same, depending on the program. And I'd like to see a little bit more of things fleshed out before just agreeing to something that is not completely fleshed out. I absolutely love the idea of affordable housing. What scared me a little bit was when it was mentioned that 95% of the property would not be homestead eligible in the downtown. So that means you either don't own it, which means that's going to be rentals, and if you own it, then that means that the people who own it aren't going to be living here. So for everybody in District 4, if you didn't hear that loud and clear, I think you should hear that. That is not generational wealth. That is somebody else collecting rent. So, and the city cannot afford to pay out rental assistance for a very, very long period of time when we have our own debts to pay. Beyond that, I'm curious. I'll just jump right to, okay, so yeah, I love tiny home programs, but again, it has to make sense. I would like to see more. We can't just, everybody knows I like tiny homes. I post tiny homes all the time. I have dreamt of a tiny home little compound for my family for probably way before tiny homes were cool. The Katrina cottages, if you ever want to go look those up, they're amazing. But these are some things that are worthy to look at, but I feel like we need to go into the community to ask them, what do you want? What do you need? What does your community want? Tiny homes are great, but if we have a massive need of people who need 2 and 3 and 4 bedroom homes because there's a lot of kids or a large family or an aging parent that's got to move back in, then we have a different need to serve. So I like where we're moving, right? Okay, I like that we're coming and we're starting to have better conversations. So this is a good move in terms of we're getting there. I'll move on to City Hall. So are we on the City Hall thing still or no? Is that in there? I think this is in this long one. Yeah, City Hall, the concept. I've read the narrative in City Hall. And
We're not on City Hall.
Yeah, it's not.
it's on the very bottom
It's a
here.
separate agenda.
It's not
It says
the item.
2662, is that where we are? 'Cause it's down in here. It says, so all such approvals contingent on approval of the City Commission by City Hall and parking garage. So my point with that is it's not a big deal at the City Hall, but we had that conversation as part of our October 21st meeting, and this, and I think everybody who's attended a downtown meeting heard many, many times through the CRA's own advertising and their own conversation, or the city and CRA's, this whole project's advertising, that this has been a 30-year project. This has been going on for a while. They've been discussing things. They've been discussing things. But yet the same picture, for the most part, is the same one that we see over and over and over again. And time again, well before I was elected, I saw people coming up to the stand here, talking and speaking and saying, we want to be at the table. We want to have a part in what we are doing in our area. We want to change what this looks like. We want this to reflect who we are. Making a legacy feature is a slap in the face. It needs to exist, but making that as a consolation prize to getting what you want or getting what we need as a city, slap in the face. I'm all for education. I'm all for fine. I love the idea of bringing a college in, but the question I had about that is, the developer was willing to set it aside for 2 years. What if in that 2-year period of time we don't find a college or we don't find somebody? Then what happens to the land?
Then we would have the right to develop the parcel for a taxable use.
So now we're being promised or offering things that we don't know that we can fulfill. And we know how long the bridge conversation took last night, or any other conversation, or any other project in the city. 2 years is a very short period of time. It's taken them 30 years to get to this point for this project. And this Northwest CRA was established, was it 1989, I believe? Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of promises to the Northwest community and the city as a whole. And it's really important that we deliver on those promises. I just want to deliver on them in the way that serves the community in the best way that we can. And I want to make sure that the project is actually what the residents want. And I've went to those meetings, and I've listened to the meetings, and I've been at these meetings, and the biggest thing I keep hearing over and over again isn't that we don't want something nice. It's just that we want to collectively have something that serves all of us. And I'm not hearing that or seeing that in this. I'm seeing some things tossed out and only offered as a carrot if we do it the way that they want to do it. And that's concerning to me, because it just feels like being pressured to try to do something good for the community, and basically for the vote. And it's not something that's concrete. The last thing is LEED certified for City Hall. We are in 2025, and this building is not LEED certified. I just caught that in one line in the description. Why? Why are we not building an economically an ecologically friendly building when we have every opportunity to do so? Why did we miss that boat too? It can look pretty, but if it is not serving our comprehensive plan and trying to do things moving forward, I think somewhere in the past 30 years of this design process, or even the past 5, we should have looked at how this is going to serve us in the next 15 to 30 to 60 years, because we'll have paid it off at 30, but we'll hopefully enjoy whatever this new downtown is for longer than that, if that's what we're creating. So that's all. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
I know that Commissioner Perkins has been working hard on this list of things that the community wants. And I think they've come up with some great ideas, and they've come from community, and she's done a lot of outreach, and she's been working with staff on this list. So I do feel that this represents, and Commissioner Perkins, if you can speak on that, so I do feel this represents what your outreach has been for the last couple years, is what we're voting on the list of things for community. I guess my question is just to you, Commissioner Perkins, to answer on that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Perkins?
No comment.
No comment. Very good. Further commission, I've got Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. So I think the list has been fleshed out over time, and I think we've made progress on some of these, but as usual, my concern lies with who's paying for this, and I believe the burden of this falls on the residents of Pompano. So 6.5 million contributed to the trust. 1.5 million is from the developer, so less than a quarter of that comes from the developer. The rest of it comes from changing the waterfall on land sales in her head, but the rest of it comes changing the waterfall. So the city gets less of 5% less of the proceeds from the land sales, and then that money gets transferred to the trust.
It's,
Ms. McKenna?
I'll let Ms. Sybil answer, but it's both the performance payment and the waterfall. So it's fairly evenly split between the city and the developer.
So is it 1.5
3
million?
million from the developer. 1.5 is from the performance payment, 1 is from their initial land sales, and then we are essentially increasing the percentage to them to get us the additional 3.5. And again, the objective is to get the full 6.5 into that trust to allow the community and Commissioner Perkins, because we've met all these weeks discussing all of these items that, with my understanding, are very important to the community, and this was our way to effect it, to allow a lot of these things to get done, that I was told legally by both lawyers, CRA and city, that we cannot use taxpayer dollars for. So again, it's just providing an engine to get that money into that trust fund so the community can get done all of these programs and initiatives that I've heard talked about over the last couple of months here in the city.
Right, I get it. And I think that's my struggle. A lot of this stuff is not something that is standard operating procedure for a city, so it's not like legal to just take money and transfer it to a community benefits fund, or take money and you know, encourage local business participation. Like, it has to be structured, and same with affordable housing. It has to be structured in a way to make it legal. And I think as a result of that, we are ending up with some policies that I don't really agree with. So I'm a big advocate for affordable housing, but I am not an advocate for rental vouchers. So those are two different things to me. And one of them, affordable housing, setting those policies to develop those kind of projects, yes, but to give handouts of vouchers that we can't necessarily do long term, right? So it's a short term thing, and I think that creates bigger problems long term if we can't continue it. So I think to make it legal, we've had to like twist ourselves into a pretzel to make some of these things happen. And in the end, I think that we're ending up paying for a lot of this. So then at least half, or about half of the community benefits trust is coming from us, and the local business participation. That was at $1 million.
2 million.
2 million of that comes from.
That's part of the public financing.
So we're paying
encourage
that.
the participation by local contractors.
Right. So
and to provide apprenticeships as well.
Right. So we're paying for that through the debt we're taking on, and the streetscape work and all of that is also coming from this. It's coming from the CRA.
Right, within the CRA budget, it has to come back to you annually as part of your budget process.
But we could do that anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Like that doesn't nothing to do with this, but that's a policy we could have been set years ago to spend money in the Northwest CRA on neighborhood streetscapes. But we had consultants that were focused on, you know, the backyard at South or something, and it is what it is. But it is money that could have been spent in the past in the community and can still be spent separate of this project if we as a CRA board decided we wanted to disseminate CRA funds further into neighborhoods. So this is all, to me, like I said, it feels like we're twisting ourselves into a pretzel to execute some of them, and some of the things we could have been doing anyway, and we should be doing. So we already voted on this as a CRA board, so we didn't have this discussion, but those are my thoughts on this.
So Mayor, may I clarify something on the rental? So again, I proposed down payment assistance. It was my understanding in talking to the District 4 Commissioner that rental assistance was also important to the community. That's how rental assistance made its way in there. And again, we talked about the idea of first, last, and security. We also talked about maybe we need to subsidize for a period of time. But of course, obviously, the more money we have in the pot, the more well the project does, the more we have public financing and we have all these savings, the more we can increase the allocation to those buckets. So again, that's fine. If you guys want to, like I stated, the policy has to come back to you. You have to determine how much down payment assistance. Is it 80,000 down? Is it 100,000? Do we want to do rental assistance? Ultimately, it takes 4 votes to pass these initiatives. Again, that's how it made it into the plan. Was my understanding that was something that was important to the community.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Further commission discussion.
Can I just follow up on that?
Okay,
So
Vice Mayor.
my comment wasn't about down payment versus rental. I agree that if we're going to spend the money, we could get more bang for our buck through rental assistance, but then down payment assistance, and maybe it's some combination, and we have to set the policy. My problem isn't with the rental part of it; it's with the voucher part of it, as opposed to building, affordable housing that people can actually go work and pay for. Because a voucher can go away, right? So if we have this program and then that voucher goes away, that creates problems. So I think long-term vouchers are maybe not the best policy for affordable housing. But that's worth a discussion at some point. We brought it up yesterday that we probably should have some kind of workshop on affordable housing where we can flesh some of this out. And if this passes and we go forward, then I think before we set this policy that Ms. Sybil's saying we need to flush out as a CRA board, we should have a workshop on it and talk about how we would want to spend that money.
And I also want to remind the commission, I brought it up at the last workshop, is my vision for this whole program is basically addressing individuals in the community as a whole. So I'm not necessarily focused on, I'm going to give somebody down payment assistance and walk away, or rental assistance. I'm focused on introducing a financial literacy program to build a strong foundation. I'm focused on funding going to this community benefit trust to fund scholarships to get people higher incomes through the trades, through AI, through healthcare, or getting them to go to college. So all of these things that we're talking about here, it's really a concept that's focused on ensuring long-term sustainability and success for people who live in the community. Because I fully understand if we just give rental assistance and people don't have the income to sustain that, we're going to end up in the same problem that we've always had. So all of these things that you see packaged here, in conjunction with some of the initiatives that I've already started unfolding in the community, were put in place to serve the whole individual. And I certainly wanted to partner with that trust to say, if we have Mr. Brown in the financial literacy program, and now Mr. Brown wants to go get a scholarship for the community benefit trust to go and have a trade, whether it's construction, whether it's health, culinary, to raise his income, and then we can provide down payment assistance or rental. So rental is certainly a path. Ultimately, everybody yearns for home ownership. It's not for everybody. Some people want to rent forever, but again, the idea was to look at this program holistically and trying to connect the dots to serve the whole person. And I think that's some of the socioeconomic problems we have with the community, is we address a part of the need and we don't serve the whole individual.
Very good.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, I've got Commissioner Fessick.
Can I finish with that? Because she was
Let's-
responding to what I was saying quickly.
Let her go ahead.
Let's go to Commissioner Fessick. Go ahead, Commissioner Fessick.
Well, I'll just jump on this for a moment then. From an honorable concept standpoint, yes, you need to treat the whole individual. And it's very kind of many of people in the community who wear different hats, right? But you can't fix everything. And I feel like that's what we're trying to do by throwing all of this together in this. It's a noble concept, and it's one that the community would support, right? Everybody knows that these are things that the community needs. That's what we heard time and again. That's what the community needs. They need these things. However, does it have to be linked to this downtown project? Does it have to be linked to public financing? Or should it be something that the CRA plan should be addressing through TIF funds outside of redevelopment, maybe it's on its own? And they could have been doing that for the past 30 years, right? So, but we haven't gotten there yet. So I applaud the honorable concept, and I agree that we have to treat the whole individual. But you have to also remember that some of the people who will apply will want those services, and some will not. If you want to hear the frustration in anybody's voice, you could talk to Cassie about how much she wants to help everybody. There's some people who just don't want it. The financial literacy, some people might say all in. I would love to learn. There's some people who are not going to know how to do it and don't want to. They're happy with the way that they're doing things, and they like what they're doing. So these are definitely, like you mentioned, socioeconomic problems. They're community problems, but they're ones that we can help and serve, and churches and local businesses, even our CRA programs, should we adopt them or adopt that as part of the plan to focus on those programs, rather than it being attached to a downtown that only is okay if or only part of the project if we use public financing. I think it's not right.
So I do want to reiterate again, the whole community
I'm not
benefit
done.
trust.
Sorry, I'm not done.
Okay.
Thank you. And I just, because I only had one more thing, and it's about affordable housing. So on here, it says the developer has 15% workforce housing. Well, that's great. But workforce and affordable housing are two different things. They're two different price points. The other thing, I think, if we're going to really have that affordable housing workshop that we need to bring back and look at, is back, where we can't have affordable housing too close together in certain map. If you were to put it on a map, if there's a bubble, there's a bubble, there's a bubble, we can't have them too close together. Why? Because some consultants told us that was a bad idea. Well, last time I checked, nobody, I mean, we have rules for sober homes, which that would make sense, right? You want to make sure that that's part of the healing process. That's part of the ADA recommendations, or the recommendations from the organizations, because they want to have them be reintegrated into society as a sober person. We don't have, however, limitations on how close mansions or million-dollar properties can be located together, or condos. You see how many, there's no limitations there. So it feels to me, again, like we need to revisit this, because when you're looking at building out a community, or building out a section of the community that has been promised so much and has failed to get it delivered time and time again, despite how many times they've been promised, I just kind of want to yell and scream at the top of my lungs, guys, get it in writing, get it stamped, notarized before you believe one single sentence. Wishes are great, but they do not pay the bills. Thank you.
Very good. I've got Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that the creativity that has been worked out between Roca Point Partners and Miss Sybil, Miss McKenna, and legal staff, and all the staff that has been working very hard in amending this contract to provide these benefits to the Northwest community. I just want to commend you. You don't have to, you don't have to do that, and that you've taken the time and the effort, and Miss Sybil, that you have your sort of vision as trying to help and correct some of these problems going forward, and we're trying, and if we get halfway there, it's better than nowhere. And I just think doing it creatively, where the CRA is unable to fund some of these programs by law, by the way, not because they don't want to, but it's by law, and that Roca Point, you've stepped up and found creative ways with the help of Miss Sybil. I just want to say I appreciate that, and for these many, many years, I find it very exciting that we are going to take the first step and are able to do something great in this city. So thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. I've got Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, good policy is good policy. And many of these are good ideas. It's great that we're finally talking about it. But like I said, they're not necessarily dependent on a downtown. It's policy we should have been talking about years ago. It's money that should have been spent in the Northwest community for the last couple decades doing these things. So the only one, so the Community Benefits Trust, that requires this, the pass-through of money from this project in order to fund. But with respect to the streetscapes, that is something the CRA could have been doing. With the affordable housing policy, that's something we can do anyway. Local business participation, something we could have been talking about and doing anyway. The financial literacy program, I completely agree. We have to backstop any of these vouchers with education, but we could have been doing that anyway. And we should have been. And it's good that we're talking about this stuff and finally thinking of ways to disseminate more CRA money into the community. But it's not dependent on this project in some ways. So there's $5 to $6 million of debt service for the infrastructure bond every year that we can pay on debt service, or we could have, we have money in the Northwest CRA that we pay bonds for. We're paying off bonds for taking a lane out of Atlantic Boulevard and doing a streetscape. We could have taken all that debt service and been doing these type of programs instead. So, yeah, it is true. But affordable housing, back to that, we do need to talk more about that because the circles of poverty or concentration of poverty, that map drives me nuts. We need to be evaluating projects on a one-off basis. We are losing certain opportunities. Like there was a affordable housing project for seniors out by the senior center that makes total sense, but couldn't be built because the circles of poverty. And we need to take that power back as a commission to evaluate projects on a case-by-case basis for what makes sense in an area. And as I always remind people, new affordable housing is not like, it looks nice, it's new, it's brand new, high ceilings, new stainless steel appliances, PVC pipes, all of that. So we need to get the stigma off of that and work more on that in the CRA. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Fasig,
Just one
last
time.
time.
So my one last thing, thank you. So I wanted to just bring up something. I think, yes, I wanted to agree that, yes, I like where we're heading. There's these conversations that need to be had, and they're difficult ones, and we're moving in the right direction. And I want to thank staff for doing that and working together to do that. It was mentioned that you met with the District 4 Commissioner over and over again, and while I understand it's just in her district, and there was a need for that. I know that we had asked for workshops time and again to flesh out some of these ideas. And so I guess the question I have is why wouldn't we instead, over the course of months and months and months, have multiple workshops to discuss this in public, where we could get everybody's input and get different commissioners' input to help move this forward, so that when we did see it on an agenda, we would be fully prepared for it, and we would have a lot more confidence in what we were looking at. I was laughing before when Vice Mayor had said something like it's all piled together, and she was searching for, I forget what food you used this time, but it was mashed potato brownie last time. And my last question to this is just, how much in total, if we're adding this all up, are we attempting to approve tonight to move this whole project forward? So it's 75 million, and then the public financing another. Do you know the total number? 212. Oh, so it's the same 212 million that we were going to approve back in June, or that came to us in June. So the other thing I have that's concerning to me is that there was not. I mean, we spent a whole heck of a lot of money and effort back in April, May, June. Even before that, March, April, May, June, in making sure the community was aware of what we were trying to do or what was being done, the changes that had been made. These are great changes that are worth having those conversations with the community. These are great ideas that can, again, be implemented if we choose to do so through CRA or through neighborhood partnerships or through lots of other partnerships, and maybe even community liaisons with the city or consultants with the city. These are conversations that need to happen. But again, my concern is that we've spent no time or effort to educate the public to be here tonight, with the exception of, I actually went to go search for it. I was trying to repost to make sure that people would come to this meeting, and I couldn't find a post. There was no announcement on social media that I was just trying to repost quickly as a reminder. Hey, reminder, come to the meeting tonight. And there was none, so I had to make one like last minute before I even had makeup on. So I had to use a stupid filter, the point being is that then 5 minutes later, like an hour, with less than an hour to go, all three parties, Downtown Pompano Beach, City of Pompano Beach, and Pompano Beach CRA, followed up with a very quick, hey, don't forget there's a meeting tonight. We need to do, if we're gonna, this is the same $212 million. So I'd like to have a series of workshops if we're gonna move forward with this, and to make sure that it's truly filling the need for the community. Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik,
No.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier.
No.
Mayor Harton.
Yes, I believe that takes us up to item 2, which is first reading of an ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving the form of a ground lease agreement and authorizing the execution of a ground lease agreement in connection with each series project as more fully described herein, approving the form and authorizing the execution of a master trust agreement to provide for the issuance from time to time thereunder of one or more series of certificates of participation as more fully described herein, approving the form of a supplemental trust agreement, supplementing the master trust agreement, and authorizing the execution of a supplemental trust agreement relating to one or more series of certificates of participation to be issued pursuant to the master trust agreement and authorized herein, authorizing the issuance in one or more series of tax-exempt and/or taxable certificates of participation evidencing an undivided proportionate interest of the owners thereof in basic rent payments to be made under a master lease purchase agreement, Civic Facilities Master Lease Program, by the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, subject to the parameters set forth herein. All is more fully described herein, providing for the appointment of a trustee under the master trust agreement as supplemented, approving the form and authorizing execution of a master lease purchase agreement, Civic Facilities Master Lease Program, related to the series projects, approving the form and authorizing execution of a lease schedule to be delivered in connection with each series project, approving the form of an assignment of lease agreement, approving the form of an assignment of ground lease agreement to be delivered in connection with each ground lease, authorizing the delegated negotiated sale of each series of the certificates of participation, Civic Facilities Master Lease Program, specifically authorized herein, and establishing certain parameters of such sale, approving the form and authorizing the execution of a certificate purchase contract relating to each series of the certificates of participation, Civic Facilities Master Lease Program, specifically authorized herein, subject to the parameters set forth herein, authorizing obtaining a commitment for municipal bond insurance policy and/or reserve account, surety bond securing a series of the certificates of participation, Civic Facilities Master Lease Program, specifically authorized herein, and the execution of related agreements with a number, approving a form of preliminary offering statement and authorizing execution, related agreements with the insurer, approving a form of preliminary offering statement and authorizing execution and delivery of a final offering statement, and related matters relating to each series of the certificates of participation, Civic Facilities Master Lease Program, specifically authorized herein, approving the form and authorizing execution of a continuing disclosure certificate and related matters relating to each series of the certificates of participation, Civic Facilities Master Lease Program, specifically authorized herein, authorizing all required actions in connections with the issuance of the series of certificates of participation, Civic Facilities Master Lease Program, specifically authorized herein, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Once again, Ms. Sybil.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Suzette Sybil, Assistant City Manager. So again, what's on the screen has the difference between private and public financing. We are obligated on the Master Development Agreement that was approved last June of 2024 to fund our civic CRA obligations under that Master Development Agreement. I am proposing public financing to finance those initiatives to effective savings of approximately $100 million over the 30-year financing term. Again, those savings allow us to effect a number of initiatives within the Northwest CRA District above and beyond what we could potentially afford today. Let's see what else I want to add to that. I think that sums it up. Happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public? Please come forward. Just name an address for the record.
Lauren Holiday, 1615 Northeast 28th Court. I'd like to address something that was talked about in the last thing since I wasn't able to speak. I've been in tech for 14 plus years. I've worked for HubSpot, Campaign Monitor, Zapier. You probably don't know any of those companies since you're a lifelong bureaucrat. But basically, there's no jobs more in AI or anything. Do you know Lovable, Cursor, Claude, do you know what any of those are? I don't think you probably do, most of you. I would say 95% of you don't because you're lifelong politicians. There are no jobs. Colleges are closing down because people don't want to attend anymore. Read the news. Like, there's AI. Can any of you tell me what job you're going to get with AI? Do you even know what a job in AI is? Can you give me one job description? I don't think you can, none of you. So you're coming up with these old school ideas and assuming there's problems, which you know what they say when you make assumptions. There's the wrong problems you're solving. People need jobs, they don't need more education, okay? There's free education everywhere. You go online, go on Coursera, go wherever you want. But lifelong politicians have no idea what's going on in tech, and I can tell you the jobs aren't what they used to be. I used to make $250,000 a year working in tech for these big companies. They are not there anymore, and I know AI fluently. Okay, so I just would like to say that what you guys are doing is not a solution, and I don't expect much from a government because it's just always so far behind because it's lifelong bureaucrats. But that's just what I'd like to say.
Very good. Appreciate your input. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please hold the applause. Further input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I actually agree with you, Ms. Holliday. Companies are, when they eliminate jobs now, they're not, or if someone leaves a job, they're not hiring a person anymore, for the most part. We are in different times and it's moving quickly, and to me it's the same as building a new city hall, right? Like, because in my vision, in 10 years, no one's going to a city hall building. They should be able to do everything. They should be able to transact online in every way that they need to if we're doing a good job as a city government. So I do think that we should be much more forward-looking with technology and designing our city civic needs and all that around a different-looking future than what we have. And college is definitely something that's at a bit of a, I don't know, inflection point, or there's a lot with colleges now that's different with the cost of it, and not necessarily needing a college degree for certain jobs. So those are all good points. I wanted to talk about the $100 million. So, Ms. Sybil, in the private financing, there's two things that I want to talk about. The first one is there's $31 million in rent deferral in the private financing, and there's in the public there's $16 million for capitalized interest, or I think spreading that. So what is the 31? I mean, I know what it is, but why $31 million of rent deferral in these assumptions that are in here are adding costs to the private financing, which result in your $100 million. So the amount financed for the buildings and the performance fee is 113 or 114 million, call it. But then we're adding 31 million in rent deferral.
Mm-hmm. So, usually when you do public financing, you can have a graduated debt service repayment schedule. The credit tenant lease is a special financing structure. That's the way it was structured. I also wanted flexibility on the deferrals as well. We have a 1-year deferral, and then we have an abatement where the rent graduates over time. So again, the reason for doing all that, again, was to insulate the project if we had to go the private financing route, because it is more expensive in terms of having to pay the 15% return on equity to ROCA for their share of the cost, because as I stated to you earlier today, they have to borrow 90% of the funds that we need, and then the other 10% they do have to throw in their own equity, which calls for a 15% return on that equity. So again, it's just a different type of financing structure in terms of how we do it and the mechanism that ROCA provided us with that option to get it done. I certainly don't want to do it. And that's why I'm advocating for public financing to save the taxpayers, whether it's 70 million, 100 million, 110 million, whether it's 5 million, whether it's 10 million. I want to find a cheaper path to get this project done on behalf of our residents so I can have more surplus funds available to provide services to the residents, not just in the Northwest District, but throughout the city. Because I've heard the commission loud and clear. We want more money for police. We want more money for road maintenance. We want more money to do all of these things for policing. We are just currently contemplating taking back our police department. So again, I don't want to do private financing, but it is a more expensive structure to get it done. So certainly we have deferrals in there. Certainly we have abatements. I could take a few less abatements if I want to, and we could have 80 million in savings, hence plus or minus $100 million in savings. We're also right now on the public financing side. The Fed has just lowered rates, as you know. They did it in October. They did it today. So it was nice timing for us, and they plan another rate decrease in December. So I fully anticipate that 5% rate on the public finance side is going to go down even further. We're keeping an eye on the 30-year Treasury yield on the private financing as well, because that kind of is fluctuating up and down. We're kind of keeping a close eye on that. But all of these movements in the market and just trying to really pay attention to all of those movements and looking at both of those choices that we have, to me, it's a clear choice. Public financing all day long. And we can sit here and argue about if it's 100 million, 105, 70 million, 60 million, it really doesn't matter. 10 million is too much.
Okay. So I appreciate that, but the 100 million's been thrown out and thrown in everyone's face that we're wasting all this money, and there is extra contingency, and then there's another 0.6 million of contingency every year, which is another 17 million of your 100 million that's not in the other, it's not in the public model. You don't add that. So there is about half of that 100 million is based on assumptions that are making it really conservative, which I get and I appreciate that, but it's not 100. And then my last point on that, and it's always driven me nuts, is when we're adding up payments over a 25-year horizon and we're not doing any kind of discount rate or net present value of things. And I know you can say that maybe inflation and the rate are this, you know, they offset each other, but it's not going to be exact there. So. The way we got this 100 million, I just completely disagree with. I think it is much less than that. It doesn't mean that it's any amount is okay. I agree with you. We should be doing what's least expensive, but I don't think that 100 million is a fair number out there, given the assumption. I don't think it's like looking at apples to apples in terms of the conservative assumptions. And I want to talk about interest rates. Also, people asked me after we had this last vote on public financing. I said I'm sure it's going to come back to us, and it's going to look even more attractive then because interest rates are going to go down, and they have gone down twice since we looked at this. There's been cuts. So I don't know when it actually gets issued.
Yeah, so we would not issue until next summer.
Right,
so we would
expect even more. Yeah, exactly. So. So that's something that just in general people should be thinking as we're taking on debt, that is at least we're doing it in an environment of decreasing interest rates, which is better.
Very good. Further commission discussion. Commissioner Fessick.
So, quick question related to financing. If interest rates may come down again, is there a possibility or is there a clause where we could refinance at any point in time or at a certain point in time?
Usually it's about the 10-year mark, because usually these are public offerings, so it's not like we're going to go to a bank and borrow money. We do have to go to the marketplace. We get an underwriter. They're investors, they're institutional investors that purchase the bonds. So usually they have a lockout period because they want to preserve the great interest payments that they're getting on those bonds. So it's usually around a 10-year mark that you're allowed to refinance. And usually the finance director is in close discussions with our financial advisor to monitor all that to help us to refinance if we have to.
So great. So that means that if we are currently, while we're sort of fleshing out details, moving forward with private financing, and maybe you run the numbers at a 10-year, and let's just say interest rates go down significantly, we're not really looking at a savings of the city of 100 million. We're looking at potentially a much closer number, because we could have hopefully in 10 years, maybe we have really low rates again, right? So. Point being
maybe
is
70 million.
But we might not have to borrow as much because we'll have realized some of the benefits from the development, ideally in 10 years, or at least from pads being sold in 10 years. So there's a way to sort of balance this, in my opinion, if there's that opportunity to refinance. So that would be one of those questions again that I think in the spirit of running numbers and providing the correct information, if we do have that ability to potentially refinance, and it might be at the 10-year mark or it might be sooner or later, there may be ways to negotiate or adjust that. I'd like to see that as part of an amendment and to make sure that that's fleshed out.
There is a penalty on the private financing. I don't remember what the numbers are. I know Patrick is back there, but there is a penalty for breaking early On the private financing side, I would have to go back and see what those numbers are. I'd be happy to share it with the commission. But again, even if you're refinancing in 10 years, you're still losing that opportunity cost in going with the public financing versus the private, because you do have the option on both sides, obviously, to refinance. So it's still going to end up costing us more.
Right, but maybe significantly less in the long run.
Okay, 70 million.
Depending on
70 million then.
yes, and not just looking at straight numbers on paper, and it's interesting, up here I have a lot in my ear, a lot. I do, actually. Thank you you turn on your microphone. It'd be great for everybody else to hear it. I'm asking questions because I truly am trying to find ways to get to that middle ground, right? And what I'm finding from this in my ear and constantly is that it feels like, and this is a sentiment that a lot of residents have said the same thing to me. They've said, why does it feel like everybody who's just pro this whole project continually sounding like defensive about it? Why are you not getting met halfway? Why is it such a defensive, and why do people blow up and get angry, or not get angry, but get upset, or like passion? I mean, passion is a good thing, but what is hiding in that desire to be yelling negative things in a fellow commissioner's ear, or to have such anger posted online? It's like, what is hiding in that desire to make us agree to this so badly? And that is a question I just keep, like, that I think about. Thank you.
Very good. Further, Vice Mayor?
Thank you. We have Phil and Patrick here. Is it possible to ask them for an update on the private financing and whether they think, given we just voted down the infrastructure bond, they think that they will be able to secure private financing without the infrastructure?
I don't think we need to address that right now.
Well, I mean, we're deciding if we're going to do public or private, and they're here, so I have a question for the developer.
No, we've already committed to private. The question before us is to go with public.
Yeah, they've committed to, but I'm asking how the process is going and how that is going to go if there's no infrastructure bond issued. Is that going to make private financing difficult? Okay.
Very good.
All right.
Further commission discussion.
He's willing to come up.
So here, if that's fine, then I will continue. I will speak if they can't. So in my view, private financing is more difficult to get anyway. You have to go to private lenders. It's not the full faith and credit of the city just issuing these certificates of participation based on our, these revenues and all this. So I also think we probably have to be further along in terms of construction drawings before a private lender is going to lend. They're not going to lend based on a rendering of a city hall building. So, and if I'm a private lender and I'm Roca and I have to go ask for financing and they say, how am I going to get paid back? When the answer is land sales, you're gonna get paid back because we're gonna sell land, and that's gonna enable the city to make the rent payments to you. And how do you sell the land? Well, we're going to develop these pads based on the 75 million of infrastructure that goes in, but we just voted that down. So I don't understand how we're going to sell land to pay back the private financing to pay the lease if we don't have the infrastructure put in. So it's anyway, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik?
No.
Commissioner Perkins?
No.
Commissioner Sigerson Eaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier?
No.
Mayor Harton?
Yes. Item 3 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving a supplemental resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, the agency, supplementing the agency's previously adopted master bond resolution to provide for the issuance by the agency of its tax increment revenue bonds, Northwest District area, and one or more series of tax-exempt and/or taxable bonds as additional bonds pursuant to the agency's master bond resolution, for the purpose of financing, included through reimbursement, together with the other legally available funds, all or a portion of the cost of a redevelopment project relating to the Northwest District area, including certain other costs related to such additional bonds, all is more fully set forth in said supplemental resolution. approving the negotiated sale of each series of such additional bonds, all as more fully described in the supplemental resolution, approving the issuance of each series of such additional bonds by the agency, subject to the terms and conditions of the master bond resolution and supplemental resolution, providing certain other matters with respect thereto, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Ms. Sibyl.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Susan Civil Assistant City Manager. So this item did not pass on the earlier CRA meeting agenda, so I don't know how you want to handle it. But again, it was the companion item because as the governing body for the CRA, the City Commission is required to approve any bonds that the CRA would be authorized to issue. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Berman?
I believe the commission can still approve it, the issuance.
Okay.
The city is the governing body that authorizes issuance of bonds, so I think you can still approve it.
Okay, very good. This is a public,
Okay. Sorry, I have bond counsel in my ear. So she said it's authorizing the resolution that was approved by the CRA board earlier. So she's saying you cannot approve it.
so there's nothing to approve.
And we'll strike it.
Okay, so
Strike it.
we need to strike it? Is there a motion to move to strike?
Move to strike it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Strike that one. Item 4 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving the design concept of City Hall and parking garage pursuant to Section 2.5E of the Master Development Agreement between the city, the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA, and RP Pompano LLC, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Once again, Ms. Sibyl.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm actually going to turn it over to Ms. McKenna. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Sibyl. Attached to your agenda item, you have the 2 design options. And so we're going to do this similar to the way you do your board appointments. As Mr. Alford calls the roll, you tell us whether you want perforated or scalloped, and whatever option gets the most votes is what you're going with.
Okay.
I have a question about that. Is that normal for resolutions? Because, I mean, an agenda item or like an approval for somebody is not a.
The resolution specifically says you have chosen option fill in the blank, whichever one you choose.
Very good. Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item?
I want to see that.
Please come forward. Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion.
Yeah.
Commissioner Fessick?
I'm trying to find that exact space where she mentioned it's just that it's written that way, each one of the 2. I think we've had this conversation. I'm sorry, do you have something to say? You want to add? Oh, okay, I'm just checking. I think we've had this conversation that we would like to, and look, it's beautiful. We've talked about how beautiful it is. But the thing is it serving the needs? And if we approve this, then what's going to happen is we're going to spend more money to tell the designers to move forward with creating all the plans that are going to be this particular building, which means we're going to be spending more money towards this particular design before we have had the conversation again, is this what we really want to see? And it's been shoved down our throats, and I will say that. I've said it in April, I said it in May, I said it in June, I said it yesterday, I said it today. I'll say it again probably until we decide to have that conversation. I don't want to throw good money after bad. And this is a beautiful design, and we've talked a lot about things, but there's a few things that still don't make sense. And if we're at a standstill, I'd rather kind of make sure that we get it right before we approve a design. I think it's irresponsible of us to do that when there's money behind that. There is a fiscal impact. So it's not listed correct. So I just moved to strike it.
Seconded.
Moved and second to strike. Let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik?
Strike, yes.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Sigerson Eaton?
No.
Commissioner Smith? Vice Mayor Fournier,
Yes.
Mayor Harden.
No. Very good. Back on the, back on,
I have a question.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Yes, so we've already approved that we're moving forward with the new downtown, or rather, new city hall, last June. So that is actually happening. That has not been derailed, and we need to choose a design so we can move forward. Is that correct? Can I ask the lawyers?
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
we're legally obligated under the development agreement to select the city hall. It's our obligation to do so. There have been multiple meetings, numerous meetings with the developer, with the architects, numerous renderings, and now we're down to what has come to the final to design. We're giving commissioners the option and opportunity to pick which of the two they like better. That's what's on the agenda. That's what the resolution says. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. That's what I thought. So, yeah.
Okay. Further commission discussion? I got Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I have follow-up questions on that. Let's just say, and hypothetically speaking, I hated both of these and all of my input had been ignored and I wanted to say, no, I'm not happy with either of these designs. What would I vote?
You select one of the designs at this time. That's a hypothetical. That's not relevant to this situation. What if that were the case?
Option
we wouldn't
3?
have this before you at this time. This is an opportunity to vote on which design you like. If you waive that right, that is your determination to waive that right. But the rest, we will go with the greater number of votes for design 1 or design 2 tonight.
Okay, so if I don't like either of them, I would vote for design 3?
And effectively waive your right to vote for design 1 or design 2 and have no say in the final selected design. That would be your decision, Commissioner.
Understood.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Commissioner Fesick.
Okay, so who wrote this resolution?
Staff.
No, I didn't ask. I was asking legal, right? You both did. Okay, so you both wrote this resolution. You both assisted in the MDA that was approved in June. I think we all agree that we are moving forward with a city hall complex, this whole project. We know that we are locked into that. When I had my conversations back in April and with our developer team at Roker Point, they had very clearly said that if the commission was open to it, or if we had agreed and we were able to work together, that all we had committed to was square footage. And it's like civic use space, that we had committed to a certain amount of square footage, and it was effectively named City Hall, but if we wanted to change it, we could potentially do so through an amendment. They were more concerned about the square footage and the anchor and the opportunity to sell the downtown area. It didn't have to be anchored with necessarily City Hall. It could have been, they had other ideas in other places they've done, and they were pretty good ones. It could be a combo. It could be a lot of different things. We have said since the very first time we saw this, I know I have, and I've heard it from a lot of my residents. I've heard it from other commissioners, that even up till last week, that this still needed to be, even though this was pretty, it's a pretty picture, right? But right now it's a pretty picture. I think it's misleading that it says fiscal impact is none here, and it's wrong. So there is a fiscal impact. I would like to know, Ms. Sybil, maybe you can tell me how much money would be spent based on what option we choose. What is the financial expenditure once those drawings start going to the architects?
So the total cost for City Hall is $70.6 million. That's what's in the budget, approved by the City Commission as part of the lease cap. The design costs, I believe, through HOK is about $6.9 million. In all, we've already started to incur those costs to get to this point, to this substantial plan after the developer has met with each of you several times to gain your input, culminating in the workshop on October 20th. And I thought there was consensus based on them meeting with all of you and getting feedback and tweaking the plan and adjusting the landscaping. And ultimately, it came down to the design of the chambers. And we had a few commissioners that liked the perforated on the right, and we had a lot of commissioners that liked the scalloped on the left, hence the two options you have before you. So this does not have a fiscal impact because we already considered an item earlier for the bonding, but obviously we are right now spending money on design costs because we do have cash on hand that was approved as part of the development agreement back in June.
So would it be responsible as a city or to write this way and say that there's no fiscal impact when if we push the little needle forward, right? And then we would incur additional costs when even at that same meeting, all of us had simply said, or several of us had simply said, yes, this is nice, but is it right? Is it going to serve the community? Is it what we need? Should it be changed? Should we look at other options? I know that has been said so many times, and getting us to say, oh yeah, that looks nice, is different than having us push it forward at taxpayer expense. I think that this is wrong. I think that this is not, the way that this is written is wrong. I choose option 3 because I think that I'm not willing to spend taxpayer money on something, and it shouldn't come down to we'll just go with the number. Is there a quorum on this? Would that, would have to go that direction? I mean, how can anybody from a legal standpoint or financial standpoint put this on the agenda like this without, 1, listing a fiscal impact, and 2, hearing what was said over and over and over again? Why would you put us between a rock and a hard place? Thanks.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, okay, when your name is called, indicate your preference, option 1 or option 2. Just go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik,
3.
Commissioner Perkins,
Option 1.
Commissioner Sigurdson-Eaton,
Option 1.
Commissioner Smith,
Option 1.
Vice Mayor Fournier,
Option 1.
Mayor Harton.
Option 1. Very good. Takes us up to item 5 as a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, approving the Affordable Housing Amendment to the Northwest CRA Plan as recommended by the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded for discussion. Once again, Ms. Sybil.
Good evening again, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Suzette Sybil, Assistant City Manager. This is again a companion item to the CRA item you considered earlier to amend the Northwest CRA plan to provide for down payment assistance, rental assistance, and for us to explore the feasibility of tiny homes. I have no additional comments. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion, questions, concerns. Commissioner Sigurdson-Eaton.
Yes, I'm very intrigued by the tiny home concept. I know we haven't fleshed it out at all, how it will be private, partially funded. I know we can't run facilities, but I would like to explore partnering with Broward County on their homeless issues. Perhaps they can invest in some of the tiny homes. I know that a large portion, after discussing it with Cassandra Rett, who interfaces between the county, the availability of shelter, I guess, is one of the biggest problems she faces. And so I would just suggest exploring partnering at some point and in some fashion with the county to have the county subsidize some of the homes that our people dealing with our homeless could use for our community. Just something kind of outside the box. Don't need to, but I just wanted to put that on the table as food for thought. So, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik,
No.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Sigurdson-Eaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier,
No.
Mayor Harton.
Yes, item 6 is a resolution.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach City, Florida, approving technical matters pursuant to the Master Development Agreement between the city, the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA, and RP Pompano LLC, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Ms. Sybil.
Good evening again. She's a Civil Assistant City Manager. I'm going to invite New and Tran to discuss this item. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Tran.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the CRA Board, or Commission. New and Trans CRA Director. So what you have before you are some technical matters that needs to be handled while developing the pad for City Hall and the parking garage. The streets here in red are areas where we need to abandon. Northwest 2nd Street, a portion of Northwest 1st Street, Northwest 3rd Avenue, and also a portion of Dixie Highway. If you recall from the various workshops and individual meetings with the City Hall design, City Hall does sit right across some of these rights of ways. If you recall also that those single-family homes along Northwest 1st Street, we did purchase those. So CRA does own all that. So the entire length of Northwest 2nd Street is no longer needed. There's areas in Cyan that will probably be needed for additional right-of-way to handle any secondary utility access from garbage vehicles along Northwest 1st Street. So those are proposed access options to continue the service of Northwest 1st Street as secondary access to those commercial properties. What we're requesting is going through the abandonment process, allowing the designation of administrative authority to the city's contract administrator, the city engineer, and also development services director to administratively handle this process so that we can move forward with beginning the downtown development with the City Hall pad as part of the MDA. So that's the first slide. The other slide is, as part of this development, there's a lot of utility relocations and undergrounding that will need to be done. North of this site is the FP&L substation. So there's a lot of transmission lines that go down Northwest 2nd Avenue. FPL has told us that they do not underground in public right-of-way, so this is another abandonment of a right-of-way. However, with this one, the city will retain access and utility easements, so nothing will really change, just as as it is appearing today. It's just going to be an access easement and utility easement, but will be converted to private property so that we can do the undergrounding. And lastly, there's this little 10-foot right-of-way sliver. This is located right across the street in Old Pompano. You can see the fire water fountain right there on the top left corner. This was left over from the properties that were there previously. If you remember, there was a flower shop there and a couple other buildings there, but this was remaining right-of-way that really doesn't serve any purpose there. So these are the items that we're looking as technical matters to handle administratively.
Very good. Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. Is there any input from the public on this item? Seeing none, public input closed. Commission discussion. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So this is a perfect example of what is broken here in our city. You're asking us to give you more administrative authority and to just trust you more. And when I hear this, I get that feeling in the pit of my stomach, like a knot going, saying something's not right? Because there's some of us who've been misled, have not been communicated with, and have broken trust with the leadership of this city. So while this says it's technical matters, I get this unease about this. And It's no surprise that none of this is, and it's not personal, but I have serious concerns about the leadership of the city and the direction of the city because of that. So if we want to move forward with important business like the downtown and other projects in our city, I believe we need to change the leadership of our city. I need someone I can trust, someone that communicates with me instead of hiding things from me, someone that listens when I have concerns and bring them concerns from the residents that I represent, someone that I really believe has their interest, in mind. So someone who follows through on their word. There's so many things.
Vice Mayor, I'll ask you to stay focused on the item.
I am, and
Let's not make it personal.
I can't support this. It's not. I'm telling you, and it is not personal. I can't support the most basic things like this, which is technical matters, which I should be able to, but I cannot because there's so much broken trust, and I have that feeling that I support this, and it's only a matter of time before something happens that we're like, well, how did that happen? And they're like, oh, well, you voted for it here, right? So because of the history of what has gone on here with some of us not being communicated with and the lack of trust, I can't even support things like this, and that is what is wrong in this city.
Very good. Further commission discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you once again to please refrain from the applause. I'm sorry. Ms. McKenna.
Yes, if I may. I hear what you're saying, Commissioner, but I want to be sure that our record is clear. In the whereas clauses, we went through the different administrative authorities that have been created. And ironically, the most important one is the state legislature this year changed the law so that plats and replats are now to be administrative, and the governing body of a county or a municipality is directed to choose an administrative authority. We could have accomplished everything that Mr. Tran showed you with a replat that you would never see. We thought as staff that it would be more effective to bring you examples of what the state is saying should now be administrative and commit in this resolution. This resolution then charges staff with doing a monthly technical report, a report of any technical matters that are approved, as well as any pending matters, so that you are informed all the way along as we do these back of the house things, like if there is a utility line that needs to be moved, that doesn't typically come to you, and it would certainly not come to you on a replat. And so we thought this was a good communication gesture, and I'm so sorry that it did not land that way with you, but that was the intention, that we could have just said, we'll just replat everything, and then you would not see it at all. And we didn't think that was, we're trying to improve on communication and information, and we thought this was a really good way to do it.
Very good. Thank you. Further commission discussion.
Can I respond, please?
Not right now.
Ms. McKenna was speaking to me.
Vice Mayor, thank you. Further commission discussion.
I have
Commissioner
something to
Fess?
say, but it makes sense.
Go ahead,
to
Commissioner
back and
Fessick.
forth. Okay. Well, so I'll back this up for a second. Mr. Tran, you mentioned that there were more properties purchased on Northwest 2nd Street?
No, let me go back to that aerial for you. So Northwest 2nd Street, the red area, that is the primary access to those homes. Those homes are no longer there. We do own all of those. So there is no need for that anymore, other than there's a city lift station at the end. So that's why you see the area in Cyan as an alternative, primary access. So technically, it does meet all those abandonment requirements, and that's why we're asking this to do it administratively, as it meets all those criterias.
Okay. And have any additional properties been acquired in the new downtown area since July of this year?
I don't believe we have any. We may have just, I got to verify if we closed on one that we've been negotiating on out west. which is like northwest 8th. It was the Taylor property. That's been in negotiations for a while.
Cassandra Lamasserie, real property manager for the city and TRA. We had a property that we've been under contract for quite some time. It needed probated by 3 of the estates out of the 6 sellers that shook out 30 people with ownership interest. We actually finally were able to close on that officially on Friday. So that's the property. It is west of Northwest 6th Avenue, and it is in between the unofficial Northwest 8th Avenue that runs by Jones Quarters, south of MLK, and Northwest 7th. If you wanted to use that to show.
What's the address of the property?
The address actually is 2 separate folios, and they both have an address of 220 Northwest 8th Avenue, which is a little bit deceptive because that section, Northwest 8th Avenue, is not actually a public road.
Okay. And how much did we acquire those properties for?
Those properties totaled around a half acre in land. They were listed for $1.25 million. The CRA closing price was $1.1 million.
Okay. And did we get an appraisal for those?
No, we used appraisals that we had obtained for other property with similar entitlements.
Okay. And when did this close? Sorry.
The closing date on the HUD statement is listed as 10/24/2025.
So just last week?
Correct. They were still waiting to do disbursements, but yes, as far as for closing purposes, the closing date would be considered the 24th.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Just since I have you up here and you all the real property, is in any other area, to be less specific, in any other area of the Northwest or East CRA, since we're here, have we purchased any additional property since July?
No. In the East CRA, we would have actually brought the contract to you. The only closing we have pending is the purchase that you approved for 1651 Northwest 15th Avenue from the Kings. I believe that was approved at the September meeting, so we are under contract, and we're hoping that we're actually going to be able to close next week on that purchase because the sellers are eager to be able to close.
Great, thank you.
And again, that's not part of the downtown, outside of the downtown.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I kind of wanted to revisit what Vice Mayor had said, because part of this whole conversation was about communication, and I know that it is a trust issue. It's not necessarily with what you're doing as staff, not at all. I understand this portion is a technical matter, but it is one of those things where we have had this situation happen before, where we approve something that looks completely benign and then find out it's used as a workaround to something on the tail end. And Mr. Harrison, I know that there's a few other there's a few other updates that I've been waiting on. I've been waiting on finalization of, I mean, I can go through the list, but one of them was regular CRA updates that were supposed to come to all of us, and I haven't gotten those regular updates. And I have a list somewhere, and I'll put that together at another time. But that's another reason why I also have issues with communication. And before we vote on this, I also want to kind of circle back to where we started at the beginning, and I'd like to also have that discussion related to our consultants, since we are in the city side of this. So the city oversees everything that is city and CRA, and I'd like to have a conversation with the City Commission as part of a public workshop that's publicized and held here, not in the cultural center where we're cramped, that we really do look at the contract scope of work with RMA, and make sure that it still aligns with the path that we want to, where we want to move, and make sure that we're comfortable with maybe setting some agreements along the way. So I'd like to make a motion that we have a workshop related to our contract, our scope of contract services with RMA, related to our city and CRA, in one workshop. If we need to make it a joint workshop, that's fine. But specifically held in this building.
Mr. Mayor,
Can you repeat that?
I'm sorry, that's an intervening motion that's not related to the topic that's in front of you. So you need to do the motion that's on the table first, and then Commissioner Fessa can certainly follow it up with her motion.
Okay, I'll do that.
It's not we can't receive
It
it.
com- Well, it comes
Very
down to, for me, it comes down to being addressed with this, or being part of this, just like Vice Mayor had mentioned, that it was her trust issues or her communication issues. I know for I won't say fact, but I know with about 95% certainty that our consultants are handling the bulk along with Ms. Sybil, are handling the bulk of the decisions related to this project, and not Mr. Harrison on a day-to-day basis. So if our consultants are handling this for us, then I want to make sure that when we have a conversation about communication and technical matters and trust, that we're adding that to the conversation and be very clear about it being one and the same.
Very good. Further, Commissioner, Vice Mayor.
Thank
Vice Mayor,
you.
and then Commissioner Smith.
Thank you. We don't have reports today, so I'm going to use this opportunity to give my quote as inspired by Commissioner Smith. Mayor, courage is fire and bullying is smoke. Ms. McKenna, I appreciate your attempts to communicate and rebuild trust, and I very much have enjoyed trying to do that, but I do know plats take time to prepare and process, and this, unfortunately, the words administrative authority just give me this negative visceral reaction given what has gone on here over the last year. So I can't support this right now. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Abandoning right-of-ways and utilities is something that happens with most developments, and that's all that they're doing here is preparing the land for the development of City Hall and the garage. It isn't anything of mistrust. It's something that happens all the time, and it constantly came before the Planning and Zoning Board, and we've had it come before us here as at the CRA level. So this isn't anything, in my opinion, that would be of distrust from management. It's technical things that have to happen so that we can build on that land and abandon those roads. So it's important for the development, and it happens all the time. That's all, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. For the Commissioner Fessick.
I would have to agree, it is technical, but technical issues are also similar to what we just got stuck between a rock and a hard place related to option 1 or 2. Technical issues, that's the workaround. So there is a reason I also have an unease when it's not just, hey, let's just approve this one plat, right? Bring it back, or not just approve this one thing, but then the administrative approval portion is a big piece of that too. So I won't support this as well.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik?
No.
Commissioner Perkins?
No.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fournier?
No.
Hardin?
Yes. All right, any final comments?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Perkins?
So I guess everybody noticed I was sitting here quiet. I just wanted to bring to several people's attention. Well, first of all, I want to thank Claudia and Suzette for meeting with me, trying to work with me on this particular project. I've always felt that this project was about people making money, and this project has a lot of history, and I've never been really excited about the project at all. And I guess because I was very concerned about what the Northwest would get out of this project. And coming in the back end of this project was not a good thing. I do feel there's a lot of broken trust with this project. Although it's in District 4, We've had several roundtable meetings, which I felt was not effective, and that's not personal, Commissioner Smith. The attendance was very low on several of them. And also, I feel, which is not personal, Commissioner Smith, is that we've been, well, RMA has been in our city for 16 years. And it's sad to see the condition of the Northwest. And they've had plenty of time to do a lot more, I would say, in the Northwest. And that has not been done, but I would like to, in the future, look into amending their scope of work for this Northwest project. When staff asked to meet with me based on some of the things that was needed in the Northwest, of course, I gathered a few residents and we met, of course, with the master developer almost a year and a half maybe. And of course, I said to so many of you that we didn't get anywhere. We didn't get any answers. We didn't get anything. It was just, we were meeting. So, but we did list a few things that we wanted to see in the Northwest. And to this day, I never had the opportunity to present that to the community because RMA hired these people that took these list of things and presented it for me. And I still to this day haven't presented it. So it was so much done, Commissioner Smith, that's not personal, but disrespectful on all levels. So when I met with staff, and staff said, well, we can give you $500,000, the Northwest, and well, we can do better than that. We'll give you $6.5 million for the Northwest. But, watch the but. You can't have any of that if you don't give us public financing. Okay? So that was the stipulation. So if I wanted to vote for the $6.5 million, right underneath it is public financing. So how do you go with one without the other? So it was the way that a lot of this was, I guess you can say, it just has a lot of history. This project has a lot of history. And I just feel with this project that we have a lot of people waiting with their hands out to make money. And in my opinion, this project is really about City Hall and the garage. That's what it's really about. I can say that I agree with the commissioner here when she said we probably do need to have a workshop. Some of the things that we have listed here, we could possibly do a workshop on them and discuss it in more details. And the reason I didn't have the workshop on it, because I didn't want to deal with all the conflict. That's really it. Because really, there should have been a workshop. But it's just so much conflict over there. And that's not personal, Commissioner Smith. It's just so many levels of broken trust with this project for me. So I listened to everybody and how we're going to do this. I know I mentioned a while back that it would be a great idea if we had a nonprofit in the Northwest and we can put money into this trust. That was a no-no. Now that I'm at the table, the developer now is going to open that non-trust all of a sudden. So I hope everybody get all of the money they promised in this project. And I hope that it helps you along to be a little bit more wealthier. I did not vote for the MDA, which is the Master Developer's Contract, because there were some things in the contract that I didn't agree with. I think myself and the vice mayor were the only two, I think, at that time that voted against it. And I had never in my life, still to this day, have never seen a contract like that. So it would be a contract I would probably write for a best friend or my mom, because it was a really good contract. So I don't mind having a meeting or a workshop to discuss some of the things in the on this about this project. I don't mind having a meeting about that. But yes, we should have had a workshop, but I just didn't want to deal with the confusion. It's just been so much with this project until it's just up and down and trying to just fight for a little bit for the Northwest. And that's not personal, Commissioner Smith. Thank you.
Very good. Further final comments. Commissioner Fessick.
I just wanted to bring back my motion from before to have a publicly held workshop. I would say let's give everybody a little bit of breathing room and some time to really think about it and bring it forward in December, related to the scope of work for RMA with the city and our CRA. And this way, as Commissioner Perkins, you mentioned that you had frustrations. I wanted to make sure that we all had time to sit back, have a little time to think about what it is that we like, what it is that we would like to change, how we could better work together, so that it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's more of a let's look at how we can move forward. Because I would agree, we are in a position right now where the standstill is not going to work for us, right? We know that we have to compromise. So how do we compromise? Well, we start actually coming to the table by having tough conversations. And when we have those tougher conversations, we do it without any sort of emotion. We look at it as a business decision. We don't make it personal. We look at the decision, we look at what has been done, and we will state what has been done or how you feel, or what you, and then sort of leave it and talk about based on past interactions, just like a performance review would be. That's what I'm hoping to get out from this, and then performance review, and then look at steps to move forward in one way or another, amending contracts, not leaving everything the same, or whatever it may be. And I'd like to put that, I'd like to make that motion to have that be in December, so that we can maybe not make a decision in December, but we can take the holidays and again think on solutions if we need to.
So you'd like to? I'm sorry. Just
yeah.
could
So
you
I'm going to make it. So I know it's very long. So I'm going to make a motion that we have a public workshop held in this room in early December or mid-December, whenever, right around our city commission meeting, that we discuss the scope of work with RMA for both our city contract and our CRA contract.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor to hold a workshop in December about the scope of work for RMA.
In this room, yes.
That you want in this room.
Publicly televised, yes. So everybody, if they can't make the meeting, they can see it.
Very good. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton.
No.
Commissioner Smith.
No.
Vice Mayor Fournier.
Yes.
Mayor Harton.
No. Commissioner Fessick, you still have the floor.
I'll just use it to say that I, again, don't understand why some people are so defensive or unwilling to have a basic and respectful conversation. And with that, happy Halloween and have a good night.
Very good. Further final comments from anyone? Very good. So this adjourns our city commission meeting. Now we reconvene the special joint meeting. Now we adjourn that.